a little late. Some might have doubted that I would actually be here at all, as you said, because last week I got the dreaded flu, which is not very nice. There was a doubt whether or not I'd get re-elected, but I'm here, and I'm really, really proud and really honoured to be back in politics and working in politics at such an exciting time with what I regard, and having been in politics for 15 years and been on all of the Council of Ministers so far, as what I regard as being the best Council of Ministers with the best leadership, backed up by the best States Assembly, and a States Assembly that's backing business. Over the last hour, the Chancellor of the Exchequer has been on his feet, and he has been talking about Britain walking tall. Well, I hope that after we finish here at lunchtime, we can walk a bit taller, hopefully with some of the initiatives and things that we're talking about. The Chancellor in the last hour has been talking about the things that I'm going to talk about, but actually we're doing better. He spoke about rolling out broadband, super fast. We haven't got super fast, we're going to have fibre. He's increased the personal allowance, apparently, to something about 11,000. We've already got a personal allowance, tax-free allowance, of over 12,000. And again, he did a Chancellor's speech against the backdrop of 80% of GDP of debt, with clearly real problems and austerity and cutbacks. Now, on the top table, I was delighted to be also joined by my good friend Alan McLean. Chamber members, there are rumours about a note that I left for my good friend Alan before I left the Treasury. And we like to talk about this note, well, at least I like to speculate about what I could have wrote in it. The first thing is that I would say, good luck, Alan. I know you're going to do a great job, and you have my 100% and full support in the job that you've got to do. I would also say to him that he has inherited a different position to that of the note that was written in the UK by the outgoing Treasury Minister. After 8 years, I was there for 6, but 8 years of economic turmoil that was being dominated by difficulties in our financial services industry, he arrives at a Treasury different from the UK, not with 80% of debt of GDP, but of 100% of assets in GDP, and a finance industry, remarkably, after 8 years of economic turmoil, that's employing the same amount of people almost that it did 8 years before. So it's a position of strength, and I won't tire from repeating that if I may. I'm not an investment advisor, and as James rightly said in his opening remarks, past trophies are no good. And of course, past decisions of Treasury Ministers aren't a guide to future success. The challenge that Alan has, that we have as a Council of Ministers, is how we find the additional money that we know we need to find for the ageing society and particular healthcare. And how we do that against the reality of the backdrop of lower than expected income as a result of that global financial crisis, and particularly low interest rates, which are set, of course, to be remaining so long. So yes, the Treasury Minister has got a challenge. And the solution is that we need to both back the Treasury Minister with his renewed and welcome drive on efficiency and savings, which are going to be tough because the easy savings have been made, but actually make a real difference in terms of savings. But equally importantly, and put an equal emphasis on the elixir that all politicians speak about, which of that is, of course, growing the income line, and growing the income line by not increasing taxes through economic growth. I believe that we will see economic growth recovering this year. I've never really been one for straplines, I hope, but if I do have a strapline for my non-existent ministry, which I'm very pleased about, I'll come on to that, it is actually to do everything that I possibly can to raise the income without increasing taxes. I think the Chief Minister was really quite clever, if I may say, in asking a single individual to take the responsibilities of financial services, digital, competition and innovation in one single ministerial portfolio. I need to work with other ministers. I need to work alongside my good friend, and I know he's here, the Economic Development Minister. It is the success that I need to deliver is going to come, in fact, from working with other ministers, but also working to get that income line up, but also to improve the pound in the Jersey man and woman's pockets, to make it go further, to make competition really work. I'm proud of the FPP, and I think their report in January, as you mentioned, Mr. President, was one of the most important, prophetic reviews that they have done to date. Their advice was absolutely clear. Our underlying economic growth needs to be improved, and we should act now to develop a clear strategy for raising productivity. And much of what I want to talk about this lunchtime is almost the first steps in responding to that challenge by the FPP, that we should act decisively to improve our economic performance. This is not going to happen by accident. It's not going to happen without hard work. But we want and we need to encourage entrepreneurship, enterprise in Jersey. And we want to send out the message that we are prepared in Jersey for the digital revolution. I realise that ministers have addressed over the years, as I have done, have been privileged to do so, address Chamber. Some speeches have been quite entertaining, I understand. Others have been regarded as boring. Well, I have been working on delivering some new informative things. And I want to talk about some initiatives in each one of those 4 areas of the portfolio that I've been privileged to discharge. You heard from the Chief Minister about the strategic plan. And I realise that there are some doubts about just the highfalutin words of a strategic plan. Well, what I have to say to you is that time is our most precious commodity, and we're already doing things on this important area of jobs and growth. We want to be regarded as the Council Minister that at the end of our term of office has created, of the jurisdictions of comparable size, the best enterprise environment. We want to welcome, celebrate those with smart ideas, and we want to encourage them and give them all the help they can to create businesses, the businesses of the future, to create rewarding jobs that will raise the standard of their own living, raise the standard of living of islanders, and deliver social mobility. We like to say, and we should say it well regularly, that we have punched above our weight over the centuries. We've got much to be proud of. We're an entrepreneurial island. That's why we're successful, and that's why we have 100% of GDP in assets. We're innovators. We exploited the coast of Gaspé. We had farming techniques. The Jersey cow is the best converter of grass to milk in the world. And in the last 50 years, we've done great things in financial services. The new Economic Development Minister has erased, rightly, however, the word legacy sectors and low value from the political narrative. The Council of Ministers believe that all sectors of the economy have potential to be more productive and to grow, and we want to support them. Yesterday, ministers attended the Youth Assembly. One minister quipped that actually the questions that we got from young people were better than the ones that we normally have on a Tuesday. And I have to say that that was right. They were really impressive. The question that I was asked was, should we be investing less in finance and more in digital? And the short answer that I gave is that we should be investing in both, but for different reasons. We've worked hard to develop our reputation as an international finance centre. Investing in that industry is essential for creating jobs. And that investment is based on quality research from the £1 million that we spent with McKinsey, a clear strategy financial services that is working. The most important and exciting part, I think, of my portfolio is the bringing together of the financial services dossier with digital. It's a sector called fintech. That fintech market in the UK is worth an estimated 20 billion in annual revenues. And there are fintech strategies being developed from governments around the world, from Sydney to San Francisco. People are developing fintech strategies. And I believe that we have a real opportunity to carve out a role. And my ambition is nothing less than to be the leading small state international financial fintech centre in the world. And I believe we can do it, just as we've done in our traditional financial services. Jersey's not alone, of course, in dealing with many of the challenges that economies and politicians are facing, and that emergence of the digital revolution. I don't believe that we should be afraid or hide from the reality that the digital revolution has the capacity to erode existing jobs in the ether of the internet, but also actually has the opportunity of creating new jobs, the jobs of the future. We've got to improve our GVA. We've got to improve our job creation. We've got to create new jobs faster than the Internet of Things and others is going to delete them. And that's why we set up Digital Jersey, which was born out of effectively the investment, which I will stand by, of investing in fibre. When I go out, and thank you for the remarks about selling Jersey, I say that Jersey is going to be one of the most fibred communities earlier than anywhere else. Eat your heart out, George Osborne, but we've got fibre to all homes and businesses in Jersey far faster than virtually anywhere else in the world, and that is going to pay dividends. I regard Digital Jersey as our own accelerator for a digitally enabled and connected Ireland. Digital Jersey, of which there are representatives here today, is now in its second year. Compared to some startups, that's actually quite old. They're no longer a fledgling organisation. And the eyes are on Digital Jersey for results. I remember when we set up Jersey Finance, and I often wonder where we would be today if we wouldn't have made those decisions to invest in financial services and Jersey Finance. I've never flinched from supporting increased investment in Jersey Finance, and I won't flinch from supporting Digital Jersey in the important work that they have to do. They've had successes, but I know that they need to now work even harder to assist local businesses in understanding those threats, but most excitingly, those opportunities that the digital revolution presents. And this leads me to say of the first new initiative. Those of you who do follow my Twitter, and I'm sorry if I tweet a little too much sometimes, you know that I've visited numerous tech accelerators. I've seen the amazing electric environment of Level 39 in Canary Wharf. I've visited the Barclays Accelerator in Mile End Road with Sir Philip, and absolutely amazed to see the new businesses that are being created. There's another one in New York, in Paris. The New York one is called the Grand Central Tech Centre. This weekend we saw the hackathon at Digital Jersey, and that was really interesting because we saw local tech entrepreneurs working with visitors to the island, some of which had travelled apparently across France, coming up with some amazing ideas in the tech and the fintech area. And therefore, I'm pleased to say that in September, we want Digital Jersey to roll out a Jersey equivalent of a tech accelerator, sometimes also described as an entrepreneurial program, a program that will attract entrepreneurs with ideas, and in Jersey, they will be given the opportunity to be incubated, to be motivated, and to grow that into a real business. Initially, it will of course need to have a European reach, but we also need to think global, because it is the skills in digital that are not only in Europe, but are in the rest of the world. And we need to look at where the rest of the world, and Asia specifically, is going in terms of tech. The success of the programme that we want to see rolled out in September will be dependent on corporate funding. And I would encourage Chamber members to engage with Digital Jersey to see what the opportunities are. We're convinced that the investor community in Jersey will want to have the opportunity of seeing, growing, helping, mentoring those business ideas, some of which we saw at the hackathon at the weekend. I want them to grow in Jersey. I don't want to see them grow in other tech centres. I believe we can. I believe that we can have a vision that entrepreneurs in tech can develop and grow successful businesses. The high-skilled workforce, employees of the future, providing services in a global marketplace. Our mobile phones, our iPhones, or whatever your choice of iPad, is opening up a whole new opportunity for serving a global marketplace. There is mobile tech that hasn't even started. I suppose my objective, if I was to be in politics in 2030, I doubt it, but is to actually ask and answer a question to the Youth Assembly which doesn't differentiate between financial services and tech, because actually we've got a tech-driven, service-based economy, and an economy which is delivering tax revenues and keeping taxing low. Who knows? If we do this, we might even get the next Mark Zuckerberg to pop up in St Helier, and I say St Helier for the reasons that James mentioned, because it's St Helier that's going to power the economic growth of Jersey in the future. perhaps that person will be in St Helier as opposed to Harvard. Now, moving on to competition. Effective competition between companies bolsters productivity of our economy and gives consumers better deals. We want to ensure that islanders reap the benefits of a suitably competitive marketplace, which we didn't see necessarily always in the past. Every penny in a budget household counts, and it is particularly in the area of energy which we have been looking at. Fuel and energy prices are a large part of people's budget. The JC have had 2 reviews, and I'm pleased to say that with electricity prices in Jersey at 17% lower than Guernsey and looking well against European averages, I believe that actually JC has been reviewed enough. I am pleased to welcome and to hear of the announcement by Jersey Gas that they have lowered their prices by 3.5% this morning. We started engaging with Jersey Gas back in January to understand how the local gas market was, how it worked, and what the factors that were impacting on their business. And we've worked constructively, and I hope that that constructive approach in dealing with issues such as Jersey Gas will actually produce dividends. And I'm encouraged that they've agreed to work with SECRA on an open book basis so that we can understand the real issues about why gas prices in Jersey are high. Gas is of course only one part of the market, and the latest data shows quite worryingly that there is a widening differential between the UK and Jersey in terms of fuel prices, particularly in heating oil. We need to understand this, and we need to understand what we can do about it. And that's why I can announce today that I've asked SECRA to conduct a review of the whole of the fuel market in Jersey, to look at all stages of the supply chain, starting with the ex-refinery wholesale market of fuel, right the way through the supply chain. I want to see identified whether there are reasonable grounds to suspect that the market is not acting in the best interest of consumers. Now, when considering competition in the broader sense, we need Jersey firms to be able to do business in open markets, and it's a key issue that lowering barriers to entry is actually the focus where competition and regulators are actually focusing their attention, not necessarily in big legal battles in wasteful use of public money in the Royal Court. If there are unnecessary bureaucratic obstacles and cost that prevent people from setting up businesses in Jersey or investing, then we should look to remove them, and the competition law and arrangements should allow that. This is the simple way for governments to allow consumers to benefit from competition. But we must accept, of course, that we are a small island. The rules for the UK don't necessarily apply to Jersey. We must have an efficient and proportional regulatory system. 2015 marks the 10-year anniversary of the competition law. I believe that law has been influential in keeping Jersey's inflation rate at least at the same rate at the UK when it was rising before 2005, well above that of the UK. However, after 10 years of the law, it is important to consider how effective that law has been since it has been brought into force, as well as to reflect on how, since that time, competition law and regulatory processes and practices have changed. The UK has seen the OFT and Markets Competition transform into the Competition and Markets Authority. Oftel has gone into Ofcom. Against this background, we should consider what is an appropriate competition framework for Jersey, which leads me on to the second major announcement, that we have now started a detailed review of the competition framework in Jersey. This will be led by our economic consultants, Oxera, who have served so well in so many different areas in the past. But importantly, it will be overseen by and working with Sir John Vickers that will advise on the project. That's Sir John Vickers, who was chair of the Independent Banking Commission in the UK, and also the past Director General and chair of the Office of Fair Trading, a highly experienced individual who I'm sure is going to be able to assist in differentiating of what the right competition framework and law for Jersey is. We will engage. I want engagement with stakeholders, including particularly chamber members. We want direct experiences from the competition law and how it has been applied. We want to know how business has been affected by the law and whether or not it can be improved. And following this really important work, and depending on what it recommends, I would like to hold a small state conference in person and on a webinar to discuss the key findings of the review with competition and regulatory experts from other small states where we can learn. And on the basis of the outcome of those recommendations, we will bring necessary legislative changes later in the year. Whatever the issues, we want to improve the performance of firms in every sector of the island's economy. We want more competition. We want firms selling products and services, exploiting the opportunities of a global marketplace. But for local consumers, we want them to be fair to a local marketplace. Innovation is the other area in my area. We need, of course, firms, and all politicians say this, we need firms to be innovative. There's a buzz around that word innovation and how embracing innovation can transform businesses in our island. Innovation means that we need to do something different, new, smarter. We need to make a positive difference. Innovation drives productivity, the most important issue in the Economic Advisor's report of 2 years ago. We've got a proud history of being innovators, as I've said, and we've got limited resources. So we know we all need to stay ahead of the game, and there's a demand for the things that we do. We've got to create that innovative environment which encourages firms to continue to innovate, remaining competitive in the global marketplace. Innovation is something that generates and can continue to generate new business opportunities and jobs. The Jersey Innovation Fund, set up by Alan 18 months ago, has made some really good decisions, exciting investments in areas such as digital, e-health, engineering solutions and innovative customer products. And I'd like to thank Tim Herbert as the chair of the board for some excellent progress made. But I want to encourage you chamber members and other people to go out and actually consider whether the innovation can help you fund that fantastic new idea. Encouraging the innovation has been, of course, just the start. We cannot rest on our laurels on innovation, and we've got to build on the success we've achieved. I think we have lots of questions to ask ourselves around how we can use our small island resources, business mentors, the fantastic experience we have in Jersey, to actually drive innovation in a more accelerated way. And therefore I'm pleased to also say to Chamber the third announcement, which is that we're starting a comprehensive review about how the island approaches innovation. Tara Alice, a member of our fiscal policy panel, an influential expert, renowned expert, has agreed to lead this review. I want this review to benchmark our innovative performance globally and to make suggestions of where we can improve. It will be wide-ranging, including availability of finance and talent, business links with research institutions, entrepreneurial activity, competitive markets, and the level of patent applications. We need to look at these issues in detail. Tara's experience can be used to identify what we can do better in innovation and how we can raise our performance and raise that income that the Treasury Minister needs. It will be important that the Chamber members are actively involved in this review. Finally, financial services. You wouldn't expect me to say nothing about what we want in terms of financial services. I am really proud of what we've achieved in financial services, and any member of Chamber who is directly or indirectly involved in financial services should be proud, 8 years after financial turmoil, that the fact that Jersey Financial Services is in such a good state today. My message about financial services is actually that we want more of it. We actually want to see our financial services sector grow in value, but they have challenges, of course, because of the challenge of the digital revolution in probably seeing less jobs being employed. From a government perspective, our relationship with the financial services industry, I think, is a model, and it's going from strength to strength. We have a small team in government working with the Financial Services Commission. Commissioner saying, a changing commission for a changing time. They have my full support for the work that they're doing, and they're up for, as the industry is, looking at the opportunities that we can look in terms of fintech and other places. Our industry and our finance industry must innovate too, and we've got to give them all the opportunity to enhance that digital revolution. We've got to grow, protect, and we've got to innovate. Islanders at the last election, I think, gave the successful candidates a very clear message that actually they wanted politicians to work together. So there is no grand ministry for these 4 areas. I actually told the Chief Minister that I didn't think we needed to create another ministry with all the attendant cost, and I'm sure the Treasury Minister was pleased when we said that. What we want is a low footprint, motivated team on these 4 areas, and my job is about working with other ministries. Other ministers, the External Relations Ministers and the External Relations Minister and his excellent overseas work, supporting him, working with the Treasury Minister on raising the income line and doing everything we can to do it, working with the Social Security Minister about jobs, working with the Education Minister about skills, working with the Health Minister about housing supply, which is so important, and working with these great agencies that we've got of Jersey Finance and Digital Jersey. Mr. President, I am a signed-up member of British Jersey. I don't believe in independence. I believe in teamwork, and joint decision-making is always best. I like the UK Better Together campaign. We're better together, working together as a ministerial team, and better together working with Chamber. 2015 can be an exciting year, as you have said, Mr. President. The Liberation 70, Island Games, and I believe it can be the year where we can really believe that we're better together and the best is yet to come. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, questions please, ladies and gentlemen. Philip, I hope you're going to be around for another 10 or 15 minutes with some questions.
Pleasure.
So who would like to ask Philip something about what he's just said? There's a familiar face, David Wall, over on the left-hand side. Off you go, please.
I'll do that. Right. We all
You're on? Yeah, we can hear you.
My question is that there was very little mention there made about, you were talking about competition and driving prices down and benefiting the consumer. No mention is made about now the high risk to which food production on this island has become with the outsourcing of the co-op of pushing their storage facilities off island. Can you assure us that there is some kind of food strategy for this island in the long run? Because obviously competition is fine, but when it starts to hurt people's mouths and hunger, etc., I'm getting extreme here, I can tell. What are we doing about that?
Well, I don't know whether or not we can grow coffee in Jersey, David. We need to continue to obviously be realistic about what we can do. Look, the farming sector, which is so important, and I think Kevin Keen's infographic on tourism, I've encouraged the farming sector to actually do their own infographic about what they do. I'm a farmer's son at the end of the day, and I care about farming. But we have to be realistic about what we can do. And what we can do, and agriculture is not within my area, I'm not ducking the question. You are under the very capable leadership of Steve Luce at Planning and Lyndon Farnham in terms of economic development, and they're going to be looking after and helping. But we want to support farming. Farming can have a great future. Let's see more milk being sold in China, and we're going to give them every support we can do. I'm not also going to criticise the co-op for making decisions that they need to make their market work better. Just-in-time delivery is an issue, and if the co-op need to make the just-in-time decisions that they need in their warehouse, then government shouldn't stand in their way. Food security, we need to import food, and we need to grow as much as the food that we can in Jersey, but we shouldn't be subsidising it, because subsidies simply don't work.
Okay, David, thank you for that round of applause. Please do, feel free, don't be inhibited. Any other more questions, please?
Yeah, hi, James Harriott here. I was just going to ask Philip, what's the timetable for the SICRA review? Have you got one? Because these things do tend to have a long run-in.
I can't see you, Harry, which I'm always a bit nervous about. But anyway, hello, Harry. Good to hear from you. Yes, I agree timetables are really important, and I'm going to set out a timetable for the review once we've actually sorted out the terms of reference. This portfolio is being ably now led by the economic advisor, Dougie Peedle, and he's engaging Oxera, who understand our Jersey economy, and I've clearly said I want the conclusions of this review by September, because I am quite determined to hold that summit 10 years on, the competition law. What can we do better? What's gone well, what's gone not so well, and how can we do better? So by September, I'd like to have that conference.
Okay, thanks, Harry. From wherever you were, I still can't see. Next question. Who else has got something to ask? Yeah, gentleman just at the back, and then we'll come up to Elliot Lincoln here on the top table.
Thank you for the presentation. Just another question on Jersey as a small island nation, a little bit like Vanuatu. Government policy is likely to be a consideration in any serious relocation exercise. With people, planet and profit making up the three pillars of sustainability, isn't this administration in danger of putting barriers up against any relocation interests by not including the environment in its strategic plan?
I think that's a really good question. And the environment, at the end of the day, the environment is going to be best served by having low footprint, high value economic activity in Jersey. And what we're saying is we're going to give an enhanced protection to the rest of the island. The island seemed uncomfortable with this issue of economic growth because the risk was in people's mind that effectively the whole of Jersey would be like Singapore. Singapore's 3 times the size of Jersey and has got something like 8 million people. We're not going to do anything like that, but we need to have more inward migration of those skilled workforce that the firms of Jersey need to employ, and of course we need to have local jobs with the existing brilliant talent that we've got. But we're going to focus on St Helier, and St Helier is going to be where the economic vibrancy that businesses are going to be created. And if that's not a good environmental message of actually keeping the green and pleasant countryside and our coastland and giving it an enhanced protection and actually focusing economic activity in St Helier where it should be and actually doing better with St Helier. I think we're almost sometimes ashamed of St Helier, and we shouldn't be. We want to have an environment where people really aspire to want to live in St Helier, visit St Helier and work in St Helier. That's good environmental practice, and all the things I'm talking about in terms of energy efficiency is absolutely central to environment. So if you want us to reference our strategic priorities on environmental considerations, it's at the heart of it. It's good environmental policy, what we're doing.
Okay, thank you for that. Really nice question. Let's have a few more. Yeah, I saw Elliot's hand up here on the top table. Just got a microphone around here. That'd be really helpful. Thank you. Yeah, Elliot Lincoln.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. As an island that wishes to develop a worldwide digital reputation, surely the government should be leading the way on that charge, and I'm sure that will be a good selling point for yourself when you're going around the world selling Jersey as a digital destination. I was dismayed to hear that the eGov programme had been put on hold, and I'm interested to understand what it's going to take to unstick that and move it forward, and interested whether sponsorship for that exists within the government.
Good question, and I'm looking at I've got one eye on the Treasury Minister and one eye on the Chief Minister, because effectively it is the triumvirate of the Chief Minister leading, supported ably by the Treasury Minister and the Minister responsible for digital that has to take ultimate accountability for this. But I, as almost the cheerleader for digital, the decisions are Alan's in many cases in terms of investment and in terms of some of the real issues that the Treasury has in terms of income tax systems. Chancellor's announced apparently doing away with tax returns. We'd all like to do away with tax returns, but we're going to have a new IT system in order to do it. And the Chief Minister in terms of modernisation and leading with Alan in terms of the cost consideration, digital will deliver better services to our population and they will deliver them cheaper, and eGov is absolutely central to it, but it's been stalled. And that's unfortunate. I don't want to look at the past. I know today we've got it under clear leadership with clear political accountabilities, with clear support. The challenge is going to be the investment that is going to be required to deliver it, because Alan needs to deliver efficiencies and economies. And departments like the police, I had an unfortunate issue outside my house where I had a drunk driver crash into a wall. A policeman came along, very nice, brilliant, fantastic service. It took him 3 hours to take a statement for me because he was writing it down with a pen and pencil. Well, that's crazy. We need to invest, and our Home Affairs Minister needs to be able to get the investment required to digitally enable our prosecution service. That's the kind of real change we're going to be able to make. But the eGov is central, and I hope I'm going to get a nod from the Treasury Minister and a nod from the Chief Minister that we are absolutely committed to do it. They are responsible for accountability for it, and I've also got Deputy Wickenden who's right behind me and encouraging the eGov thing. It's important, it's stalled, it shouldn't have done, it did, it's now back on track and we will deliver. But it's not one big project, it's not one big elephant that's going to solve it. It's not one single thing. It's e-government everywhere, from JLib to court service to police to tax.
Okay. Another question? Yeah, just on the right-hand side, please, if you could.
Hi, Philip. Another digital question, if I may, Alex Belcher. Do you think there could be any value in establishing a similar institution to Jersey Finance for digital, where a party of interested lawyers, accountants, politicians, property developers perhaps, go off island to really sell Jersey, tell them about our fibre, tell them about the great stories we've got here, our beaches, our safe lifestyles, and really accelerate the digital economy?
Yes, and you've already got it in part. Tomorrow there's going to be a London Funds Conference with Jersey Finance, doing a really great lineup, great speakers, and you've got Locate Jersey doing brilliant work. I was delighted to go to South Africa and to sell our mining and resourcing sector, and Locate Jersey, Wayne Gallishaw and Kevin Lemasny and his team doing really good job with Mike King in relation to that. So the debate, I think, Alex, is what resources do we need to give Digital Jersey, like Jersey Finance, in order to go out and do that? George Osborne, when he opened Level 39, said you need three things for technology. He said you need the right tax environment, you need the right regulation, and you need ministers who are prepared to go out and sell. And I agree with all of that. We've got better tax rates, we've got a better regulatory environment, and we are nimble and fast moving, and we're going to go out and sell the message. And if there's a doubt about why I spend time in London, it's doing exactly that. And Digital Jersey, Andy Jarrett's here, there's other people from Digital Jersey, well done on the e-gaming side. Last week, in terms of a big conference on fintech, or there was a conference in London, I'm going to be on Digital Jersey's back. I want to know what the resources they want, and I'm going to ask Alan very nicely at the spending round to make sure we've got the resources to do it, because we've got to go out and sell Jersey. We can sell it on the internet, but there's nothing like individuals and selling. And we've got a great story to say about tech. Infrastructure is in place, great tax regime, and ministers who want to develop it.
Okay, we've still got time for another couple of questions, so quick answer, Senator Rosen,
Okay,
if you
I
could.
will shut up
Rashid.
Philip, thank you for your really interesting and positive speech, which gives us confidence for the future. One question or one area that you didn't cover, not quite sure whether it's your baby or not, but it's really rather important, is the deficit. How do we cope with the deficit that's projected over the next couple of years?
Well, as everybody knows, I haven't got any babies, but I share completely and absolutely. It's not the Treasury Minister's deficit, it's our deficit.
Exactly.
And we need to understand why that deficit is there. And we need to make sure that we don't just talk ourselves into depression and we link UK austerity with effectively decisions that we need to take. The Treasury Minister has the fiscal challenge because we need to spend more money on healthcare as a result of the ageing society. And our income has not been as great as it has been. And how are we going to solve it? Alan is going to lead another initiative, a wide-ranging initiative on cost cutting, and we're going to support him because we've got to work together, work smarter. And my job is, that's why the Chief Minister's asked me to do this, is to work alongside Lyndon Farnham to raise the income line without raising taxes. That's what we've got to do, but we've not got to be short-term, we've got to be long-term, and we've got to get our confidence back. We've got to get our mojo back. We've got to believe in ourselves, and we've got to believe in Jersey and believe that we can be as successful in the past as in the future as we have been in the past, and not talk ourselves into decline.
Okay, right, thanks for that
Thank
question.
you for that.
Let's have one more then before we finish. Got a minute or two before I'll ask for the vote of thanks. So any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Or is that everyone? Everyone happy? Okay, thank you very much. We will leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Philip Oakley. Okay, which just remains for me to introduce one of the most important people at this event. Of course, we couldn't do it without our sponsor, BWCI. So I'd like to introduce now for the vote of thanks, the partner and head of investment consultancy at BWCI, that's Mark Colton. Mark.
Thank you, everybody. BWCI We are the pensions specialists. We love pensions. So if I'm going to say thank you to anybody, I guess it's got to be to the UK government, who have made what must be an exciting subject for all of us, but particularly even more exciting today by completely changing the landscape.
Yeah.
We certainly look forward to playing our part in Jersey's kind of reaction to that. Others today that I must give thanks to, of course, the POM for the food and the service, so thank you very much. For the wine, Donnell's, thank you. And for the coffee from Cooper's, thank you again. And finally, as if there's any doubt, it's a privilege for us to be able to sponsor this premier event. It's clear to all of us, I think, that pensions equals retirement savings, and the big blue egg needs to be even bigger these days than it was before. That's not going to happen without growth, without economic generation of growth and prosperity. And we've been lucky enough today to hear how that's going to happen in the dynamic, energetic and passionate person of Senator Ossoff. Thank you.
Good stuff, thanks Mark. Thanks Philip, was that right?
Yeah, it was good.
From the talk, enjoy it. Learn anything? Lots of new policies.
Some big stuff there.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff.
Big stuff there.
Are those written down anywhere? Are you going to send that down to us?
That's a proper review of the JCRA. I was responsible for bringing in. Thanks very much. That's very kind of you. I'm sorry I'm not been a very nice guest, but we'll have a nice together. So look forward to competition.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating.
It's quite testing times for you, I guess. No, it's fine. Yeah, it's exciting. That innovation review, Tara Alice, she is one brilliant. She is impressive. She's really good. John Vickers on the competition stuff, Tech Elevator, and more money for more finance. And we're going to sort out we're going to sort out. When you install it should have never happened.
We're ready for
That's all right, don't worry, I'm sure. I don't know if they do.
I mean, I don't think it's yeah, there's that film really good. We should know how to ski. Enjoy yourself.
See you later. And I know it's correct. And I know it's correct. And like I say, but I just, the thing is, when I'm speaking to Andrew, when I speak to him, and I actually feel like the problem is, when I make all these things, we need to start between you and me, that's shame we're at. I think that's really well done. I think that was done. We've had a heck of a a lot of that was the overcharge. It's stuff like we couldn't at one point stuff like that, which has gone up from 16 to 46. You know, tying in with building control, and the other thing was we were working so quickly. We've got that building
So I'll leave you guys to it because you're obviously thanks, James. I'll see you on Monday.
Hopefully, yeah. So every little bit was so tight, and so to have that wallet taken off in November, that's where Andrew said,
I think it's really difficult.
it's going to be a no. I mean, it's fine, we know. It's not a problem here, but we know.
Yeah, it is. I was having a look, as you know, last time. I'm happy
I said
to...
I said that to Vincent. I said, I don't feel like I'm pushing you to the life of
No, but I don't mean that. I mean, I don't mind doing it, but I've also got to be mindful of the other issues. It makes it very difficult. I did seek some advice on it, and I haven't had that clarification. I'll have to check, so I may have dismissed it and I'll have a look. What I will do is, before the end of this week, I'll send you an email, send you an email.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just let me know where we're going.
I know, I mean, it sounds, what you've described to me is just absolutely nonsense.
It's just compliant, it's compliant.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, and it's just what, if I had realised, and I should have, I said to God myself, I really stupid, I should fix it. I mean, it's not something you can every 2 minutes. And the problem is when it's done, it's done. You can't suddenly...
Was it 80,000?
18. Yeah. It's just that difference. I mean, we came to stand down another 76 grand basics. And it doesn't sound like a huge amount of money, but compared to the overall bill. But it's just got to the stage where every pot has been emptied, and it just makes it's just that final push. So...
Okay, I mean, I'd love to help if you can. I think it's going to be really difficult, but I'll just double check on the advice you gave me.
I just, like I said, to Andrew,
that's fine. Christina, I'll have a look and I'll ping you an email.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll get this email invite out shortly, and hopefully we'll get it come next week.
Good.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Has he gone and left his thing? Oh no, he hasn't gone. It's still recording.
Thanks.